our final presentation this afternoon, we welcome Scott Anderson and Roger Henry from AAFC Charlottetown. Roger has worked for the last 24 years as a field technician for AAC. He has worked with many programs including soil and water, soil disease, organic, pest management, and now the knowledge transfer section. He currently spends the bulk of his time demonstrating innovative AAFC and industry-led research on the Harrington Research Farm and taking that information directly to the farming public. Scott Anderson graduated as an agricultural engineer from the Technical University of Nova Scotia, specializing in soil and water management. Past roles include working with the PEI Department of Agriculture as a water management specialist and also with Agriculture and Agri-Food Canada as the Regional Water Resource Engineer, Atlantic Region. Scott worked closely with producers doing knowledge transfer at AAFC Science, promoting adoption of best management practices. He also manages large collaborative research projects at AAFC, including the New Living Labs initiative.
Thank you, Ben. And thanks, Margaret and Tyler, for letting us on the agenda today. We won't be too long. I know it's late in the day. I do work with AAFC, Charlottetown, and those of you probably recognize AAFC as a research department, and that's true. But one of our main mandates as well is knowledge transfer, KTT, and that's what we're going to talk about today. Some of the stuff we've done this year. On our own property and also working with collaborators. The first one we're going to talk about is some work we did here at the home farm, we call it, in Charlottetown at the Research Center on University Avenue. We moved most of our field work to Harrington probably in the 90s. So we don't really do a lot of work in Charlottetown, but it's a fairly big place and it's easily accessible. We get lots of foot traffic, so we're really trying to do some more demonstration work at that site. And what we try to do when we do KTT work, develop projects that showcase developing areas in PEI agriculture, while at the same time, this information is derived from research we've done in the past at AFC and with our industry partners. Today we're going to see some work we've done with the Nepan Center in Amherst, and also some of the stuff from our Living Labs program. And we're always trying to, when we do KTT, is to explore further relationships and partnerships with the industry. So I'm going to turn it over to Roger now. He's going to do the technical stuff.
Thanks, Scott. Good afternoon. Just kind of quickly here, folks. So we set up a sorghum Sudan grass demo on the home farm in Charlottetown, as Scott said. Cameron McDonald approached me. He said, we have some Sudan grass varieties he'd like to try. And I said, oh, well, you get me some seed and I'll demo them for you. So what I did is I looked at 6 different Sudan varieties, plus pearl millet, plus the sorghum Sudan hybrid. And that's the one demo. And then the next thing I was looking at was just different annual pasture mixes. What we're trying to do with this is we're starting to see some partnership between beef and potato farmers. And so if they grow potatoes, say the first year, then what can we get on that land as quick as possible to give them some grazing for the next year, year and a half. And then we also looked at just different alfalfa forage blends, just mainly for the beef farmers. Okay, for you people growing Sudan or sorghum Sudan, how do you establish it? It can be a little tricky, but I've been working pretty good with it lately. It tends to need a good seed bed. It likes it warm, like they're saying 15°C, so you generally don't get that much before the middle of June. So you kind of got that window from the middle of June to the middle of July to plant your sorghum Sudan, pearl millet, those sorts of things. And what I've found is a grain drill with press wheels works as good as any. I've tried about 4 different seeders, air seeders, brilliant seeders, a couple of different air seeders actually. And the slight tamping of the press wheel with the grain drill seems to be really important to get good soil seed contact and get that seed out of the ground. See, if sorghum doesn't get out quickly, it's kind of wimpy for the first 10 to 12 days. So you want to get it out as quick as you can, or the weeds can take over on you. And it's important only to plant it no more than an inch deep, kind of that 3/4 of an inch deep. We're using a Great Plains drill with press wheels that work real nice. And they do like a fair bit of N, or some N anyway. Some guys are putting on quite a bit more than that. Now I grew it actually in the home farm, and that's certified organic, so I kind of had I just used chicken poop. I used 1,000 pounds, which actually turned out to be 40 N on it. But most people are going a little higher than that. And the seeding rate of 25, some guys are going up as high as 75 pounds per acre. Anyway, I got along really good with 25 pounds the acre. You can seed it at 7 or 14-inch spacings. I did both on this trial. If you're underseeding it to a legume, I'd suggest a 14-inch spacing. That's a little more light in there initially, get the legumes started up. But both will work and give you a good stand. And one thing I tried this year as well was I switched it out with hairy vetch, or I mixed it with hairy vetch. So I took out about 10 pounds of sorghum seed and replaced it with hairy vetch. Hairy vetch and sorghum about the same size, just work perfect, same seeding rate and everything. And then for weed control, I just mowed because I was organic certified. And the field before had been in buckwheat for 2 years. So this had intensive weed pressure, let me tell you. Anyway, I got along okay, but all the cereal herbicides will work on it. So what's the use of these crops? Well, in my mind, there's at least 4 different uses. One is for soil building. So if you're a potato farmer and you have no interest in forage, it's just a straight soil building crop. You're going to flail that crop twice during the growing season, and that's going to increase your root mass a lot. You're also going to get wireworm control, and you're going to get serious soil disease control. They're especially good with vert. And the pearl millet is good with nematode. So if you have both, then you might want to do a mix of the two, or choose the one that best suits your soil disease issues. Another way they can be used is just for a cover, for no-till planting. And if I'm going to do that, then I just let the crop grow up. Then I'll flail it off in September. And then the next spring, I'll just plant right directly into it with a no-till drill. So I won't need any herbicide or anything. What we're working on now with a couple of beef farmers and potato farmer partnerships is we're grazing it. And so we still have to sow at the same time. You'll probably be able to graze it, if you plant it the middle of June, you'll probably be able to graze at the end of July. You want to let the cows in a little early, probably when it's about 18 inches high, and you only graze it down 8 inches. Because you can't graze it down too low, you'll get the growth point and it won't come back. But if that's the case, you should get at least 2 and sometimes 3 grazes off that particular paddock each year. And it's also doesn't need a lot of water. So last year it did work well, especially when the water tap turned off in August. And the other thing is, as a green manure. It just builds soil, you can get good weed control, and I'll show you about using it for fertility in winter wheat. So here's what our plots in Charlottetown looked like August 19th. So we sowed them middle of June, and I sowed them just 2 days after a rain, so I had real good moisture level, sowed them with the press wheels. I had this stuff out of the ground in about 4 days. Now I also had a lot of buckwheat in there too. You can see there's some buckwheat white flowers right there. So I mowed this once for weed control. That's all I did. And I seem to have the fertility on early. See, if you're using chicken pellets, you want to have them on a month earlier so they kind of rot and break down and release the nutrients into the crop. And if you were going to harvest this, so if you want to make silage out of this, this would be the time to do that, because you see there's no seed heads there. You see? That's just before the seed head forms. So here we have this photo as these dates are correct. So this is September the 10th. And this is what they looked like. That was only mowed once at about 3 weeks time, just to kill the buckwheat off. And I got real good stands, a lot of production there. So this one is just an example of, okay, so you have the Sudan variety here. This is the pearl millet, and this is the sorghum Sudan. And remember I said I switched some out with some hairy vetch. So here's the hairy vetch in flower. It has actually climbed up the pearl millet and has done really well. And if you look closely, this picture doesn't show it, but this pearl millet was slightly greener than this pearl millet. So it was kicking out a bit of N as well. And I also sowed the pearl millet, the hairy vetch with the sorghum, and it climbed up there, no problem. It went 6. It'll keep chasing the sun, no problem at all. Okay, and here's the example where we use it as a green manure. So this producer had planted sorghum, potato farmer, had no interest in forage crops. So we planted the sorghum, normal time. He's flailed this, and this picture is the 22nd of September. So here we are seeding winter wheat into this regrowth of sorghum Sudan. This is sorghum Sudan, not sorghum. And this stuff's a full foot high. You can see I got the bucket here just to show you how high this is. This is a full foot high, and this is pretty well maximum what that drill would do. You can see it's kind of green in places, but that winter wheat came up real nice. We never put any fertility on the winter wheat. We put fertility on the sorghum to grow it, probably about 75 in, and then no fertility on the winter wheat that fall. It grew well, nice stand. In the spring of the year, then we did fertilize it. Okay, so that's kind of the quick and dirty on the sorghum Sudan, pearl millet. What we also did was we did some annual grazing mixes. So as I said earlier, we're kind of to promote this partnership between the beef and the potato producers. So the potatoes for 1 year and then 2 years of possible grazing on the same property. So the situation we're working with, and every relationship can vary or be different, but basically the beef farmer will fence the land and the potato farmer generally plants the crop. And the beef farmer would apply for off-calf to help him with his fence if he was interested. So what's the benefits? The land will get manure for a couple of years for grazing, and the benefit of the grass sod. The potato farmer doesn't have to manage the sorghum or the cover crops. There's no mowing or cultivating. It's just planted once. And if we do things right, we only have to plant it once. And what's the benefit of the beef farmer? Then they're going to get good grazing for the herd for a year and a half probably. There's many options we can put together for these mixes, but basically I'm looking at trying to plant a mix of annuals and perennials. So you only plant once, but you graze it for 2 years. We underseed warm season annuals such as sorghum or pearl millet, with perennials like white clover, orchard grass, alfalfa. We want species that grow quickly and can be planted in early May as well. So what I'm looking at is probably doing some different plantings, some with warm season annuals, but also some cool season annuals as well. And what we found out is that the oats is probably as good as any of the cereals. It's as highly as palatable as any. The cows will actually eat the oat heads when they're out in head. Like we tried some spring triticale, and once the thing came out in head, they just wouldn't even eat it. Crimson clover is an annual clover. It grows real fast. It's the fastest growing small legume we got, so that's why I was thinking about it. And forage peas, extremely palatable. The problem with them is once you eat them, there's no regrowth. They're one bite plant, basically. So that has some limitations. So here's this is a 50-acre block up in Springfield West that was in potatoes in 2023. So this is the perimeter. It just goes like along here, and it comes down here. So we put a fence around it, a permanent 3-wire, high tensile electric fence, and then we divided it in 4 temporary paddocks with temporary fencing. So we had 4 12-acre paddocks, and then we grazed them. This here dead spot is just where the water truck sat we hauled water to them that way. We didn't have wells and that sort of thing. So we put up some pretty nice fences. This is just an example of the fence. You have some good heavy corner posts with a brace and tightening wire here, and we have high strain insulators. And this is an example of some nice portable fencing. This is the vinyl stakes that Kingston Farm Supply sells. They're pretty nice. You can just drive these in real quickly with a little post pounder. And then in this case, they just use one strand of high tensile steel, and then they can move that around. In the field in Springfield West, we ran out of water, as you all know, up west around the 10th of August, and this thing just pretty well stopped growing. So what we did was we went in and with a no-till drill, and I sowed oats in one of the paddocks, and you can just see the oats here. This is the 23rd of October, and the oats is just coming. And part of the reason is because it was so darn dry, it just didn't germinate for like 3 weeks. But anyway, so this was the mix we planted. Originally we had radish. There's your crimson clover. The peas and the oats from the original planting are pretty well gone, and the oats is just growing. So just to show you quickly, you know, the potential, here's some cattle grazing in September the 12th. Last summer, this is grassland that had been stockpiled. They hadn't been in here since late June. And just the potential that the cattle can have, like they can gain 3 pounds a day on this type of pasture. This is a portable wire with tumble wheels. And they're doing this work at Nepan as well. They're actually bale grazing. So right now in Nepan, they got 70 cows. They're feeding them. They start a tractor once a month. They lay out 2 strips of round bales in rows, put electric wire between them, and they put enough out for a month, and that takes them a day. And then all they do once a week is they move that electric wire, and they're feeding 70 beef cows. And this is just to show you that, you know, they're pretty durable, pretty tough things. Here they are in the middle of a snowstorm. These cows are in good shape, and they're still eating. Here's the silage bale right here. So, and then for anybody who thinks we're too tough on them, you can have mobile windbreaks. So when we were over there 2 years ago in February, it was a cold, cold day, and there was only 5% of the herd was behind the windbreak. They were all out. So what are we going to do in 25? We're going to repeat the Sudan trial with the 3 of the 6 varieties that work the best. We're going to demo the better simple perennial mixes. We're going to do some grazing with sorghum and pearl millet. And we're going to demo an alfalfa that's being bred by Joseph Papadopoulos for acid soils. And just finally, if you want to give me a guess from a plow down challenge, that's what my mountain gems looked like the 1st of August last year with no fertilizer. 16 tons of manure and plow down red clover. All right, folks, all the best.